What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Heck versus where the truth we always tell. Welcome, and we are actually coming closer to the 50 mark. We are on episode 39 today. Well, not counting the hidden episodes, right? The little hidden episode mini series thing where it's some deeper knowledge, some deeper understanding of different vibrations and different entities and all that stuff. If you haven't checked those episodes out, those are some of my favorite to record actually. And we actually started a kind of mini series for that as well on the TSMA, the True Seekers Mastermind Alliance, which is also on the syndicate that you are listening to this on. Um, but it is, of course, Lex and I both, where we will speak about these different entities, where we will speak about, well, basically all different types of creatures that most people won't speak about. Whether that be aliens, Greek mythology characters, shapeshifters, all these monster like things and creations. That's where we're going to talk about those type of things as well. But it is something that we are also doing on those hidden episodes. And yes, we are approaching that 40 mark as well, which is very special. If you are deep in your word, you understand that 40 is a great number. It's one of my favorite numbers for another personal reason as well, 4.0 hashtag. But yes, we're going to go into a different type of perspective today, should I say, about conversations that we've previously had, that we've had with Lex as well. And I actually thought about naming this Good Credit Character, as you could see from the title, of course. And I say that because one of the biggest things that we learn as we grow older is we kind of need good credit, right? We need good credit as as a means to be able to finance certain things and go and have the bank borrow us money. I don't know if that's a proper way of saying it, but I kind of, I don't think it is, but I kind of got in the habit of saying it like that, of borrow me money, something like that. I don't think it is, lend you money, lend you different types of mortgages, you know, contracts that you go loans, essentially. So you have to have certain credit for that. That is something that a lot is built on, and it pretty much tells you whether you are on the good side or the bad side. Are you risky to loan money to, right? So the better credit you have, the less risk it is for banks. So the more they are willing to work with you, give you better terms, better rates, better interest rates, everything else that you may see. Um, and it's, kind of essential. Now, they don't teach us this too much in school. Well, at least mine, they did it. And from what I'm still familiar with, they don't teach you that. I'm not sure if they teach it to you in college. I didn't go to college. I can't tell you, but you can learn it very easily, even on YouTube University. Great platform. Amazing. And that's just YouTube. YouTube, look up how to build your credit, whatever it may be. But it's really good. It's really good to access certain types of money. Now, we have to understand it's also a currency value. So it's very important because it deeply coincides with currency. Once you start going and getting certain things, you get to a point where you want to get a house, you want to get a car, you want certain things. You need that credit, you need that rapport. Of course, if you just go and you're born into money, you don't really need it all the way. You can just buy everything cash, but you need it to be able to take out loans and have that car that you want, have that house, build that family, have that foundation. It's very, very crucial, especially in today's world, to have these type of elements. And it became so to have good credit because of the man-made economy. And I'm saying that slowly because I'm also trying to pinpoint right now where exactly it is in the Bible. But there's even Christ, because I talk a lot about how there's a differentiating factor between spiritual laws and physical laws. And some of the physical laws that we must abide by are even, you know, taxes, currency, money, using money and utilizing money. Now, there are certain places like different types of tribes, but if we want to be a part of the overall society of the world, we have to be a part of that society in the sense of we got to pay taxes. We got to go and pay certain bills. We got to go and do certain things, etc., etc. We just have to because economy is something that was man-made. And I remember I went to pull it up. You know what? Little pause really quick. You won't even notice it, but I'm going to pull up that verse where Christ essentially talks about taxes. So there's actually two portions when it talks about paying taxes. I was actually combining them into one because I remember about how he told one of the disciples to go and cast a hook into the sea, pull out a fish, and there will be money in there, which I think is awesome. But this one is Matthew 22, verses 15 through verse 22. And it says, Then the Pharisees went out and laid plans to trap him in his words, him being Christ, right? They sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians. Teacher, they said, we know that you are a man of integrity and that you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. You aren't swayed by others because you pay no attention to who they are. Tell us then, what is your opinion? Is it right to pay the imperial tax to Caesar or not? But Jesus, knowing their evil intent, said, You hypocrites, why are you trying to trap me? Show me the coin used for paying the tax. They brought him a denarius, and he asked them, Whose image is this, and whose inscription? Caesar's, they replied. Then he said to them, So give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. When they heard this, they were amazed. So they left him and went away. And this is exactly what I'm trying to say is that the point that we have to go and utilize money for what it's used for. It's very important, even as people of our caliber, to understand that we kind of have to play into these laws. We have to play into understanding that we got to use money. Even Christ was using money. Even Christ was paying the taxes. Now they were trying to entrap him, of course, but it was truth that he was saying. Everything he always answers is with truth, and it was very deep to understand that we have to be a part of it. But our currency, our spiritual currency that we need to focus on and have and be very mindful of is our energy, the time and effort we put into something. So the time and the energy, we have that kind of triad, and the time and energy are more essential and more important and the biggest type of currency for God. So whenever he said give to God what is God's, not only is he talking about the first fruits that is commanded to give to God, but also our time and energy, our love, having him on our mind to be able to give him exactly what we need to have. There's so many people that are out here saying, oh well, even women, they're like, oh well, I want a man with that's 6 feet tall, that's got a six-pack, that's you know earning six figures, and that has good credit and all that. So they want these materialistic things, and God just wants what's his. So I say good credit character because ultimately we have to understand that the alignment with God, right? Renewing ourselves with God to become one with God, more so in the spirit and in truth, it allows us to take that ideology of good credit, of having good credit, and the credit structure to bring it onto the spiritual sense and say, okay, well, now that we are more so aligned, we're gaining that credit with God. He's seeing us and he's going and seeing that we can go and align ourselves to him, that we're seeking him, that we're going and putting the time and energy in. And again, this is not at all to incentivize you. I was speaking about that in the previous episode. These are just spiritual laws that we must understand. And if you want certain things, we have to submit ultimately. But it's the same way once we go and we have that good credit with God, right? That good credit character, because ultimately it's in our character. Christ makes us righteous. The Holy Spirit allows us to become a new creature in that blood. So we start going and getting more responsibilities and more gifts. And it's the same way that the banks go and use credit as a means to say, is he paying it back? Is he going and giving it in a timely manner? Is he properly making the good payments, the right amount, and doing it? Is he late on them? Is he on time? How is it all done in its form? And it's the same way with God. The way he sees us going and taking these things, taking our time and energy, all the time that he gives us, all the gifts, all the talents that he gives us, what we do with them and how we utilize them is a form of gaining that good credit with God. And ultimately, it will further unlock the gifts that we already have placed within us and that we already have at our disposal. But it's the same way. He can't give it to us until he knows we're ready. It's the same way as a dad. If you have a child and we'll say you're teaching your child how to shoot a firearm, you're not going to give it to them until you know that they are very safe in their way they handle the firearm to begin with, to ensure that they are as safe as possible and make sure that they can properly utilize that firearm for what it was meant and created for. And of course, above all things, so that they can keep themselves safe, their family safe, everyone around them safe, and they won't be any type of threat just holding the firearm. It's the same way with God. He has to weigh our intentions and know that we can handle the little that is given to us. And I believe it might be Luke 12:48. I might be wrong, but to whom much is given, much is required. In the same way, it takes a lot of responsibility for us. And it takes a lot of responsibility to be able to grow that credit. That good credit, right? There's I think there's bad credit, I guess good credit, great credit, however the ratio is. I don't know exactly how it is, but it's the same way. The better you are and the more responsible you are, the more you can have, the more doors you have at your disposal. And ultimately, those doors are also our gifts that we have placed within us. And you can see that if you have started to go and continue on with how you are progressing with your spiritual walk with God, you'll start seeing and unlocking those. But I pulled it up right here. Thank you so much to my lovely God-given message. So Luke 12:48 states, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded, and from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked." So it's a responsibility that we have. And doing it's no different than the 10 talents, the parable of the talents, where God needs to know that he can trust us, that we're responsible with it. And ultimately, a lot of it is with our character, but in character is also perseverance and different attributes, leadership that are given to us and that we ultimately cultivate within ourselves as well. So we have to be able to go and put in that energy and time into doing those things, into having that alignment. Because, I mean, if you see Christ's character, he very, very disciplined, incredibly disciplined, always getting up at a certain time before sunrise, excuse me, always spending so much time in prayer and meditation and just spending time with God and doing everything so strictly, so disciplined. And it's a characterism, it's a characteristic trait. So it doesn't matter if you say, oh, well, I'm a good person, I don't cheat, drink, steal, adultery, I don't do none of that, but you're over here sitting on your ass all day just not doing anything. Are you really that good of a person? Because you are wasting the God-given talents that have been given to you to release onto the world. So how good can you truly be? It's the same thing. You have to have that certain amount of responsibility to be able to unlock that good credit with God. So that's why we named this episode, because it is a privilege. It is a good thing to have someone as great and as almighty as God tell you, hey, I have a portion of my will that you need to carry out. Will you do it? Or will you just take it to the grave with you and I have to look for someone else? It is a privilege and it is a blessing. So it's your call whether you want to take it or not. But have that good credit, build that good credit, see it more important because, of course, we have to look at what currency is more important. I don't think time is money because money, you can get it back. You can never get time back. Time is much more valuable than money. Utilize yours properly. We are not in eternity yet, okay? We still have a very limited, very, very limited, actually, place in time in which we have to accomplish what we need to do. And a third of that time is already swiped away from sleep. Okay, not of your Lex because she only sleeps like 4 hours a night, but for most people. But I love you all. Please focus on your time, focus on the energy that you give properly. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And of course, as you very much know, we will catch you on the flip side.